and welcome to Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver, and I am your host, the elusive Arabbidb3aver, and joining me today is none other than the brand new GM of Championship One Wrestling, Mr. Jared Boatfiled. Now, we've got some technical difficulties going on tonight, but Mr. Jared, how are you doing today?
I am good. I'm not appearing on camera. Like you said, some technical difficulties. Didn't quite have the setup right to be on camera, but I am here. My voice is here, and I'm just happy to give everybody the rundown of what's going on at C1W. Happy to share some details as to my role as the general manager. Happy to be back on the show. Thank you for having me, Joseph.
You're very welcome, sir. And let's talk about that. You just kind of walked in one day and was named the brand new general manager of Championship One Wrestling. And what a great honor that is, especially from going from the ring announcer to the general manager. So you've got a great bump in pay and a great bump promotion there. So talk about that. What's that like for you?
It's honestly surreal. I did not expect the opportunity to come my way, but it did. Um, like you said before, I was announcing. Before that, I was just the camera guy. Um, but after 2024, I mean, let's face it, for better or worse, 2024 was the year of KVN at C1W. He ran roughshod. He was essentially a petty tyrant, and it caused a lot of chaos and disorder. Danielle and myself didn't really appreciate that. And so I had showed some competence and a willingness to do the right thing with my dealings with Cameron Cox. Sometimes that bit me on the rear end. However, Danielle saw that and saw fit to appoint me as general manager. Obviously, she's still the boss, but when it comes to maintaining order on a week to week basis, that's where I come in.
Well, it's kind of funny because you talk about maintaining order, but there was one point in time, like you said, during the reign of Kevin, that you were being attacked almost on a weekly basis for absolutely nothing, just being there, being the man who's capturing the footage and also ring announcing for those people to come inside. So it really makes a big difference on your life to see the safety and security that you now have as the general manager, because you've been bullied in the past and you're setting a message that nobody else will have to go through that. Would that be a fair statement, sir?
I would say so. I mean, it's like you said, I got pushed around by guys like Cameron Cox and occasionally by, a few other people at C1W. I will say there were some instances where I may have brought it on myself, especially when it comes to Mr. Cox. But with that being said, you're exactly right. Nobody deserves to be bullied. Nobody deserves to be pushed around. We're not going to tolerate that at C1W going into 2025. Um, I don't intend to be any kind of dictator. I do give the boys a lot of leeway. Um, I'm not, running around handing out suspensions like they're party favors. Uh, but that measure of order is there, and if anyone wants to put their hands on the general manager, then they can most certainly expect a suspension, if
I
not
thought you were
more.
going to say catch these hands there for a second. but but I would agree with you. I think that sometimes you just have to let the pen be mightier than the sword, and in some cases that would be what you'd have to do if somebody was going to put their hands on you or do something like that. Let the pen be mightier than the sword. Let it do the talking. Let the suspension hurt them in their pocket where it's really going to hurt them in the future. And you mentioned something very specific about not being bullied. Now, do you believe that TK Arden was being bullied by Cameron Cox? And I really want to bring this up because of something that happened this past week at Championship One Wrestling. And I just want to make sure that I'm getting the right story here.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the event you're referring to actually happened a couple of weeks ago. Um, However, with that being said, bullied is the word. I think there towards the end, there was some bullying that was going on, at least some verbal tearing down of TK, courtesy of Cameron. But I think more than anything, TK was being used. Cameron saw a young man with potential and a lineage in this business and saw fit to take him under his wing But ultimately, it was more so to benefit Cameron and his ambitions as C1W champion than it ever
Mm.
was about TK. I think that now TK is seeing that and he's realizing his own potential, and we'll see that in the video that we'll put up
Absolutely. Let me
here.
get that on here for you. And to set this video up, earlier in the night at this time, Mr. Christopher Battle came out and he gave a great promo saying that he believes it's time for TK Arden to cut the dead weight and that he can do this on his own, and that he's been in the ring with him and he knows the power and impact that TK Arden can have not only on his opponents but the fans, and he believes that he was ready to be a superstar. Is that correct and fair to say, sir?
I would say so. I mean, seeing TK wrestle, seeing his development over the last couple of years, just seeing him in the back, his mentality. He has, I think the kids call it aura that he didn't have
Well,
before.
Mr. Jared, we're going to show that video. It looks like TK Arden is picking up his chair, his signature chair, after Christopher Battle won this match with Cameron Cox. And it looks like he's just looking at it and he's watching it and he's got something on his mind and we don't know what's going to happen, but God, he's thinking about something really heavily here. Can you kind of lead us into it? So he's walking towards Christopher Battle, it looks like.
Well, obviously, Cameron would like for TK to take that chair and deal out some punishment to Christopher Battle. Um, Looks like he's telling him to do so right now. Cameron, obviously, a bit worse for wear. Here comes
Oh
TK
my
with the
God,
chair,
he just nailed Cameron right in the head.
and there
He
you go.
turned right on him.
He did, and that, I mean, it's the wrestling business. It's a violent business. I wouldn't say this, about a normal everyday person in real life or in day-to-day life, rather, but that was the right thing to do. Cameron has been using this young man, forcing him to attack people, to do his dirty work, so to speak. And TK had enough. And I'm glad that Christopher Battle was able to talk some sense into TK and let him know that, you don't need this guy. That's really what TK has been discovering over these last few weeks, is that he doesn't need Cameron Cox. The audience obviously couldn't hear the sound in the video. Uh, However, the pop when that chair was slammed across Cameron's head, the sound in that building was insane. The people have been waiting for TK to realize his own potential. Um, and I think that's what we saw just there. After that, somebody who is family to TK Arden, a former member of Hardcore Productions, which was the faction that TK's father, John Arden, was a part of, Luke Patterson, made an appearance at C1W. And he also talked to TK and kind of let him know that he doesn't need Cameron riding his coattails anymore, because that's what it is. Cameron sees it as TK riding his coattails, but it's starting to be the other way around. Uh, and so I'm just very proud of what TK has done and what he's going to accomplish. I have all the faith in the world in that young man. Um, and I think we'll see very soon his true potential.
Well, I think it started way back in the Garden of Eden, if you recall. And I believe that Cameron has been put on as the Pied Piper of professional wrestling, and he just viewed TK as one of the sewer rats that would follow him around and figured that he had control over him. I believe that this is a fair statement to say, Mr. Jared, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that he had thought that he had the power over him. And TK finally came to the realization by not only having Luke Patterson talk to him, but also having Christopher Battle talk to him, that this wasn't right. This wasn't okay. And something had to happen for his career to go on the directory of up. I think that TK has finally realized that. And I think that it's time for him to step out of the shadows from being a quote unquote sewer rat of the Pied Piper and to be his own man. We spoke about it several months ago, me and my wife, Kasera, the Princess Lady K, and we said that TK Arden has every ability to be a world champion at Championship One Wrestling if he could just get out of the shadows. And I think that he's finally realizing that he could be the world champion if he steps out of the shadows of Cameron Cox and moves into his destiny. And I think that's exactly what he's doing right now. Would that be a fair statement, Jared?
Absolutely. If my memory serves me correctly, I mean, Cameron Cox runs his mouth a lot, so sometimes it's hard to keep what he says in line. But I believe that he laid out a challenge unconventionally, the champion challenging the challenger to put his belt on the line in a match of TK's choosing. Um, that's a bold move by Cameron Cox. If I was in Cameron's position, I wouldn't be doing something like that. But I think that he thinks he's got this kid figured out. I think that he still views him, like you said, as a sewer rat following him around, and that when he steps in the ring with him, it's just going to be light work, or that he's just going to lay down for him. But I don't know how to tell Cameron this, but that's not going to happen. So he'll find that out. And if TK takes him up on this offer, which I think he would be a fool not to, I think Cameron's going to learn real quick that he's not dealing with somebody that's going to lay down. He's dealing with somebody who will steamroll him if given
And
the
it's
opportunity.
really funny that you mentioned that because he knows every dirty trick in the book that Cameron has pulled since they've been in the Garden of Eden together. And that's been over a year. He's watched him lie, cheat, and steal his way to victory on more than one occasion using the highwayman at some points in time, using his former manager, whom we shall not mention, and also using TK in order to win those victories. So and numerous other tricks of the trade, such as stealing a title and claiming he's the champion. We all got to see that live, and so much more. There's so many more. So I think that TK is expecting the worst of the worst to come out, and he knows how to counter it. He's been jotting it down in his mind and in his book to find out exactly how he can counter Cameron Cox for anything that arises. And like you said, I think that TK would be a fool not to take this match and to name the stipulation. And to be honest with you, sir, I would really like to see an I Quit match. And one of the reasons being is because there's nowhere to run, there's nowhere to hide, and there's nowhere that the Pied Piper will not lose that title in an I Quit match. Would you say that's fair, sir?
An I Quit match would be wild. I mean, we saw Cameron in an I Quit match at the C1W Awards show. We had the spin the wheel deal for the fans, and it just so happened that Chris Payne and Cameron Cox drew an I Quit match, and we saw the lengths that Cameron is willing to go to make somebody say I quit, or in the case of Chris Payne, incapacitate them to the point that they cannot say I quit. That would be dangerous territory for TK, given Cameron's experience in matches of that nature. But if there's anybody who will be able to make the Pied Piper say those two words, I quit, TK Arden might just be that guy.
I think he is that guy, to be honest with you. I think that he could not only make him say those two words, I think that he would make him say it in such a manner that everybody would still be chanting, Camtastic sucks at the end of the match. What would you say?
That would be music to my ears.
All right, well, we've got to move on. Go ahead.
That's a. Oh no, I was just saying. I think that would be an extremely entertaining match. Ultimately, the choice is up to TK if he takes this match and what stipulation he chooses. But I'm looking forward to
So
it.
we've got to move on just a little bit. Now, there's been another big rivalry that's been happening at Championship One Wrestling that we know about, and that is Robert Blade and none other than Casey Cage. And it's gotten ugly, Mr. Jared, to say the least. Wouldn't you say?
Yes, absolutely. That rivalry, which thankfully we put it to bed this past Saturday in the steel cage. There will be no more Casey Cage at C1W um, after that last match. But with that being said, I see that rivalry as a bit of a dark spot on my time as GM because I feel that I let things get out of hand. Um, I think things really went off the rails after Casey decided to attack Robert Blade after one of his matches, giving him that forward neck breaker onto Petunia, the bone, um, and severely injuring Robert Blade, only for Robert to come back and demand a match with Casey after we had already suspended Casey Cage. We had made that decision. Um, Robert Blade, he asked for the match, and he pretty much told me that if he didn't get the match, then he would drag Casey into the building and make the match happen himself. So I allowed them that match, and I told him that C1W would not be responsible for what they do to one another.
That's fair.
Things weren't settled in that match because Casey Cage decided to invite an unwelcome guest in Brian Rivers to the building to assault Robert Blade after that match. Um, and so after that, they went on social media playing matchmaker, deciding that they're going to have a steel cage match, and the loser would leave C1W. So I made that match official because I wanted to put this to bed. Robert let me down when I gave him that match, and with this match, regardless of the outcome, it was going to be over, and we weren't going to have that at C1W anymore because that level of chaos and danger is, I just think it puts our fans at risk. It puts people in the back at risk. And that's not something that I want to have on a show that I manage.
Well, here's the question for you, because it got really out of hand at one point in time. Casey Cage was bringing Petunia in the ring and beating Robert Blade to a pulp with it at some points in times. Like you said, that neck breaker that he pulled on Petunia, almost breaking the neck of Robert Blade at one point in time. Then Robert Blade stole Petunia in a match and tried to use it against Casey Cage. I mean, so it got out of hand real quick. I mean, extremely quick, and it was personal. And you know what they say about personal things? Personal problems make money, baby, in wrestling business. And that was extremely personal for these two men. And to see it come to a head and get settled the way it got settled in a steel cage, I still don't think it's 100% settled. I still think there's bad blood there. And I still think that these two men will try to kill each other the next time they see each other. Is that a fair assessment, sir?
Oh, I mean, I'm certain that if they see each other in Walmart or at the Piggly Wiggly, it's going to be on site, but it's not going to happen at C1W because Casey Cage, he lost. Loser left C1W. He's gone. As far as I'm concerned, Casey Cage is a non-factor at C1W. Robert Blade obviously is still with us. I hope that he can move on from this and seek bigger and better things because it was just, um, believe you me, I love competition. I love the matches that they had with one another. I thought they were great matches, but to have the level of unhingedness that Casey Cage was bringing with him to C1W, it just made me uneasy as a general manager.
Well, you got to see, Casey Cage is a seasoned veteran. He's seen a lot of stuff that most of these young kids haven't seen in their lives, including Robert Blade. And Robert Blade's a veteran too, but he's been around a little bit longer. He's got to see those old dusty matches. He got to see those grand Terry Funk matches from back in the day, and Dory Funk matches from back in the day. And he knows a thing or two about some violence. And that's one of the things that's scary about Casey Cage, is because not only does he know about it, he's able to bring it on such a level that it makes people not only know that it's real, but what extent is he willing to go to ensure that he's still number one and on top? So that's the thing that's killing it here for me. And like you said, loser leaves town. He left town. He's gone. Goodbye, Casey Cage. But I still think that it's yet that we have seen the end of Casey Cage and his reign of terror with Robert Blade. I hope it's done completely at Championship One Wrestling. I 100% hope so. But you could never put it past the evilness, the sadisticness, and the craziness that Casey has been the last few months, sir. Tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, please do.
You're absolutely right. I mean, Casey Cage, he's one of the most talented individuals we've had come through C1W, and I think it's a shame that he has sunk to this point. Personally, I think it's a shame. I think that he could be a valuable asset to C1W, but as long as he's carrying a bone around and swinging it at whoever's in the room, we can't have that.
I would agree with you, sir. I know for a fact it made a lot of the fans uneasy by the way that things had happened between him and Robert Blade, almost to the point of having the police called several times over the actions that were taking place there. So it really has captivated your audience about that rivalry and the things that have gone on in that rivalry. I think Robert Blade putting it to bed the way that he put it to bed in that steel cage, leaving everything on the line there and making sure that he came out on top with the W and that Casey Cage leaves for good was the right way to end this rivalry at Championship One Wrestling. But I still don't think we've seen the last of Casey Cage, even though he's left. I really believe you haven't. And that's just a hard place to be. And it's just because I know how vindictive he is. I know what type of a grudge he holds and how he never lets go of those grudges. I mean, my Lord, you remember when he was the NWA, the unsanctioned NWA champion, television champion, and he had to give that thing up. He went on a tear whenever he came back, and he held everybody. There was hell to pay for everybody that was in the ring with Casey Cage because he wanted his title back that he never lost. So that's something that you have to take into account, sir, is if this is really done, if it's really over with, then how is the rivalry going to be split? Is it going to go somewhere else? Is Robert Blade going to be at the supermarket one day and get attacked from behind because of the hell-bentness that Casey Cage is on? So that's where we're going with this, sir. We'll move on just a little bit. We'll talk about what's happening this week at Championship One Wrestling if you'd like to. I'm going to pull some graphics up on the screen for you. So the first graphic we've got here has Cameron Cox appearing and also the journeyman himself, Buck Manson. So you want to talk about them? Do you know anything that's going on with them this week?
I don't know what we have for Cameron and Buck this week. I do know that Buck Manson has made a point to stick by Cameron's side as of late, as he has in the past as a former member of the Garden of Eden. Um, Cameron, I think he's reached the point of his title reign where he is willing to do anything to hold on to that gold. I think it's become an obsession for him. And I think that Buck Manson is more than happy to allow Cameron to indulge that obsession and to aid in his doing so.
I would agree with you, sir. And it looks like we've got Dalton Blake, Dirty Money Dalton Blake Incorporated is going to be taking on Robert Blade this week. And we were just talking about this with Casey Cage. But Dalton Blake's been on a tear as of recently as well, especially what he did to Randy Travis. Let's just talk about that for a second. He beat the crap out of Randy Travis, threw him up against the walls left and right, left him probably concussed from all that. And it looks like he's on a tear, and it looks like he's trying to take it towards Robert Blade now.
No, absolutely. Dalton Blake has targeted Randy Travis for the last few weeks. This past week, in fact, after slinging him into the walls, like you said, back and forth, he power bombed him onto our disassembled steel cage, which was absolutely disgusting to watch. Um, at that point, I stepped in and told Dalton to go to the back because that's just not what we do. Um, I think that Robert Blade really needs to watch it on this one because he's coming off of that match with Casey. You know, I've seen the marks and bruises that were left. I imagine there's even more wear and tear that's not visible on Robert Blade after that match. And he's going in there with a Dalton Blake who seems to just be motivated to hurt people at this point. He's lost his manager. He's lost everything. I can't imagine he's doing well financially at Dirty Money Incorporated without the Ravishing Reed being by his side. So the anger that Dalton Blake is bringing to the table and the wear and tear that Robert Blade is bringing into this match it's going to be an interesting combination. And I think if Robert wants to pull out the victory, he's going to have to
Well,
get
I think it's
creative.
very interesting that you said that he's lost his manager because they were so tight and so on each other's side and so on the same page with one another that you would never have thought that there would have been a split between the Ravishing Reed Taylor and Dalton Blake at all whatsoever, especially the way that they worked together hand in hand and made Championship One Wrestling the must-see place to be each and every Saturday night, guys. So, I mean, it's crazy to think that that's even taken place. And I think that Dalton Blake is lost now without the Ravishing Reed by his side. Is that a fair assessment, sir?
I think that would be a fair assessment. I mean, he's a man without a partner. He's a man without a belt. At this point, he's just on a tear of destruction. I mean, he's doing what a lot of people do when they're lost, and he's turning his anger and frustration outward.
And it's really showing because of the meltdowns that he's had. And like you said, he's taken some of that anger and frustration out. Matter of fact, a lot of the anger and frustration out on Randy Travis, as you spoke about. But Lord, what is Robert Blade in for? What is he getting into? That's craziness that he's even considering going into this match, especially after that cage match, like you said. What does Robert Blade have left? Is he injured? Is he hurt? Is he going to go into this match and not have 100%? Because you've got a wolf right there in Dalton Blake, and he's ready to pick your bones, Robert Blade, just to be honest with you. And I really wish you the best. I hope you win this match, Robert Blade, but I've got to give it to Dalton Blake, the professor of pain on this one, Dalton Blake. We're also going to see Jaden Vade returning for live action. Do we have an update on Jaden Vade, sir?
Well, Jaden Vane, he's split from his longtime partner, AJ Black. He's doing things on his own. He's doing things the right way. He has had some run-ins with the Grumpy Old Veterans, a new group that we have at C1W. Mr. Rick Hayes, I saw him in the chat insisting that we talk about the Grumpy Old Vets. So you're getting what you want right now. They're just that. They're a bunch of grumpy old vets who think there's one right way to do wrestling and that everybody else is wrong. And they obviously see Jaden Vane as doing it the wrong way.
Well, my question for them is, if they're grumpy old vets, why aren't you teaching the kids to do it the right way? So if you're really that concerned that these kids are doing it the wrong way, don't you have an obligation to show these kids the right way? But the flip side of this, Jared, is
well,
are they willing to learn?
Well, I think that they would tell you that they are teaching them in the ring by way of violence. I mean, Randy Travis had one of his inaugural matches, and he was in there with Rick Hayes, and Rick Hayes definitely laid a lesson onto Randy Travis that was visible.
We're talking about that SOB, Rick Hayes. Is that the same one, sir?
Yes, sir. You are right. The SOB himself, Rick Hayes, the rest of G.O.V, Alex Michaels, Jay Sparks, and of course they're managed by KVN. We couldn't quite be rid of them yet.
My goodness. And what a grumpy old group of men that is. Alex Michaels definitely has a chip on his shoulder, especially from going from the pinnacle of Championship One Wrestling to almost being the laughing stock at one point in time within the past year. And I think that he's trying his best to climb the pinnacle and get back to the top of professional wrestling with G.O.V there. And I think the other guys as well, no offense to any of you guys that are watching out there. I know I'm kind of running my giving you the diarrhea of the mouth there, running it out. But I personally believe that with the toolage of Kevin, there's nothing that these guys won't accomplish on that level, sir. Is that fair to say?
I think you may be right. As underhanded as it may be, um, we saw how far Kevin was able to take his his empire, I guess, so to speak, when he was the one running things. So I don't doubt that he'll be able to similarly run roughshod with G.O.V. But that's one of the reasons that I've stepped in as general manager.
And I wish you the best on that, because you've got a group of guys there that know the business, know the insides and out of the business, know who to talk to, how to talk to them, and they are ruthless when it comes to business, ruthless when it comes to the business inside the squared circle, inside the ring, and they are completely ruthless when it comes to people trying to be in their business and step on their business and put their nose where it doesn't belong in their business. Is that fair, sir?
I would say that's a fair assessment, but I mean, at the end of the day, they can balk all they want, but if I decide that one of them is going to be in a match, just as I did a couple of weeks ago with Jay Sparks after he decided to step into my face at a previous week's show, I put him in a match and I banned the rest of them from ringside, and he had to go out there on his own. Of course, he won that match. But, you know, it just goes to show that if they step too far out of line, there will be repercussions. There will always be repercussions when somebody steps too far out of line at C1W.
Absolutely. We've also got Painfully Juicy going to be taking on the Infamous Warriors. Speak about that for a second. Are the titles on the line, first of all?
The titles are on the line. Painfully Juicy has been climbing the ladder of the C1W tag team division for a while now. Two talented wrestlers who decided to form a unit. The fans absolutely love them. Every time their music hits, it's like a party in the C1W arena. But then you look at who they're going up against in the Infamous Warriors, and I mean, it doesn't get more fan favorite than AMJ and Alex Stevens. So I'm excited to see what the crowd's reaction will be to this match, more than anything. But these two teams are set to put on an absolute tag team clinic. I can't wait to see what they have in store, and I can't wait to see who comes out with the tag team silver. I think both teams have a honest to God shot to win.
I really love that AMJ has teamed up with Mr. Stevens, and I really love even more that they're paying homage not only to the Ultimate Warrior but also the Great Muta with the way that they paint their face. It's just something that you don't see very often in professional wrestling, and it's something that's great to see, especially coming from two young guys who are probably on their way to be the hottest things in professional wrestling, so to speak, currently. And for them to hold that tag team gold and hold it with honor and pay homage to the people that they're paying it to, it's just a great thing to see right now. And Painfully Juicy, let's talk about them for just a second. So you mentioned that both of these guys came from singles competition, Juicy John Bishop and Chris Payne, coming from singles competition and finding that they've got something in common, a goal to win the tag team titles. And you couldn't ask for a better match going against the Infamous Warriors right there. Going to be happening this Saturday, February 22nd at Championship One Wrestling. That's 130 McDonald School Road in McDonald, Tennessee. It's a place where each and every one of you guys want to be this Saturday. The doors will be opening at 7 p.m. The bell time is going to be at 8 p.m. Tickets are $8 at the door. They do accept credit cards with a surcharge added onto it. And you can also pay, I do believe, by Cash App. Is that correct, sir?
Yes, that is an option. We do take Cash App.
So I'm very excited for this one. I'm very excited for Chris Payne. I'm very excited for Juicy John Bishop. And I'm also excited for the Infamous Warriors. This will definitely a great match that's going to be taking place there. Now, we spoke about G.O.V just a little bit ago, but I believe that they got the Dallas brothers this weekend. Is that correct?
Yes, the debuting Dallas brothers are coming to C1W to take on the grumpy old vets. I think these are two young guys that the grumpy old vets probably don't approve of too much. And the Dallas Bros have an opportunity to come in and show the C1W audience who they are and why they should be there.
But you've got them, it looks like, facing Rick Hayes and Jay Sparks. And both of these men are a little bit disgruntled with the new generation coming in. And it's going to be a fight, to say the least, for the Dallas brothers, especially with how disgruntled that SOB, the bearded SOB, Rick Hayes has been, and Jay Sparks as well. Is that fair to say, sir?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, anybody that steps in the ring with those two men, you're going to walk away with some marks. You're going to walk away with some bruises. But whether or not you walk away the victor is the only thing that matters. And I hope that that's what the Dallas Bros have in mind coming into this match.
Wow. It looks like Ty Rose
Hold
Wrestling has
on a
come in
second.
and
Hold
issued a
on.
challenge to you, sir. He says if Jared was a GM, he'd let me get my hands on that no good Buck Manson. What would you say to that?
I think Ty Rose versus Buck Manson is a match that I'd like to see. Um, I'm not, the only person in charge of matchmaking, so there are some conversations that will need to be had, but I'm not opposed to seeing that match at all, Ty Rose. So if that's a match that you want to happen, I can see if I can make that happen. Not going to make any promises here in front of the public, but yeah, I would be happy to see that
The
match.
Journeyman versus the honky tonkin' touring Ty Rose. I think that would be a match for the ages, Mr. Jared. I think that would be a good time. Now, like he said, there's no promises here, but he has some pull with the powers that be, Ty Rose, and he's going to see if he can make that happen for you. So that would be a good time in professional wrestling. Let's move on just a bit, though. We've got Aiden Wright here, the Hoss of the South, taking on Randy Travis this week. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is going to be Randy Travis's C1W. Aiden Wright, our first ever C1W champion. One of the most powerful, intimidating men in Southeastern wrestling, in my opinion. Um, he's another one of those guys. You get in there with him, and you're going to know you were in the ring with Aiden Wright by the and I just hope that Randy Travis is ready to step up to the challenge. And maybe he could even pull out the victory. But either way, it's going to be a hard fought battle. Anyone who steps in the ring with Aiden Wright is in for a hard fought battle. And Randy Travis is going to learn that this
I
Saturday.
couldn't agree with you more, because Aiden Wright does not take kindly to newcomers coming in and thinking that they can just take over. And even though Randy Travis has been in that ring many times before with Aiden Wright, it was in a different capacity, and he might be looking to get some revenge out of that, from him being an official to him being a wrestler now. So it could be something totally different, a totally different dynamic. And I hate to say this, Randy Travis, I really liked you as an official, but you might be paying for your sins that took place as an official right now going against Aiden Wright. Would that be a fair assessment, Jared? I believe I've lost Mr. Jared. Mr. Jared, are you there?
No, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, like I said, this is his biggest test. Hello, can you hear me?
I got you now. I got you.
Hello.
I got you, Mr. Jared. I can hear you. We're
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that. I don't know if my network dropped for a moment.
That's okay. So we were talking about Randy Travis and Aiden Wright.
Okay. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So, Randy Travis was an official at one point in time.
Like I said, this is the biggest test since Randy Travis has come in. And I think there might be a serious delay.
We're experiencing some technical difficulties. If you will please bear with us, we'll get Mr. Jared back. I'm so sorry about this, Mr. Jared. Just go ahead. All right.
Okay, sorry. I think there may be a delay. But as I was saying, Randy Travis has the biggest test since coming into C1W in front of him here in Aiden Wright. If he wants any chance of getting revenge on Dalton Blake for what happened to him, he's going to have to survive this match first.
And survive, he will have to do. That's the thing that nobody's talking about. This is a survival match, basically, for Randy Travis. It's to see if he can be who he wants to be and prove that he deserves to be in the ring with the likes of Aiden Wright, with the likes of Dalton Blake, with the likes of the pinnacle of professional wrestling. And it's to prove that he belongs there. So that's really the question here for Randy Travis is, you got to survive, baby. And the question is, how are you going to do it against the Haas of the South? Is that fair, sir?
That's absolutely a fair assessment.
Moving on just a little bit, it looks like that's the entire card, but I do believe that we have AJ Black going to be there as well. Is that correct?
Yes. AJ Black should be there as well. Of course, cards always subject to change. We like to keep a few surprises for the fans on the day of the show, but that is the show as it's laid out right now. I think everybody should come down to 130 McDonald School Road to see what we have in store. I think the C1W audience can tell you it's never a letdown at the C1W arena. The crowd was insanely hot last week, and we're hoping for even more people and even louder people coming into the show this
Mr.
week.
Jared, we have totally skipped over something that's going to be taking place in a couple weeks at Championship One Wrestling, and that's the 2-year anniversary show for Championship One Wrestling. And I'm going to put it up on the screen right now because I believe that you have a lot of things scheduled for 2 years, and there's a QR code on the bottom right-hand corner in this chat box. If you guys go ahead and scan that, that's how you can get your tickets to this show. Saturday, March 8th, the 2-year anniversary, which is going to be taking place at none other than Championship One Arena, 130 McDonald School Road in McDonald, Tennessee. And the guest of honor that's going to be coming down for you is Mr. Anderson, a.k.a. Mr. Kennedy.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kennedy is coming down to C1W. This is one of the biggest shows. This is going to be the biggest show that I'm going to be GM for. A lot of pressure comes with that, but I look at what we have lined up, and I mean, there's just no way this show can be anything but an absolute banger. We have Mr. Kennedy coming in. He laid out an open contract for anyone at C1W. And the first person that I put that contract in front of was none other than AMJ. He signed that contract, so that will be the match at year 2. Mr. Kennedy versus
Wow.
AMJ.
That is a huge match, a huge announcement match for none other than March 8th, Saturday, March 8th, right there at Championship One Wrestling, the 2-year anniversary show. Now, you guys have been a big feat. It's been 2 years, 2 great years inside the business. You guys have put on a lot of great matches. You've done a lot of great things with a lot of people, and you've also had a lot of heartbreak that's taken place in the past 2 years. But if you had to pick one match only for the past 2 years that you could name as probably the best match that you've had at Championship One Wrestling, Mr. Jared, what would it be?
That is a very, very difficult question to answer, to be completely honest with you. We've had so many matches that are so good for so many different reasons. Um, I would have to give it to the End Games match that we had this past October. It was the first match of its kind that we've done at C1W. And just the way that everything went off, it was like watching music. There was rhythm to everything that was happening. There was highs, there was lows, and the people were there for all of it. And most importantly, it brought an end to the reign of KVN, and it started a new chapter for C1W, one that I'm happy to uh, be helping to write rather. Um, but keeping things on the subject of year 2, we also have a triple threat match lined up for the Mixed 104.1 Championship. Originally, it was going to be a singles match with Alex Stevens and Alex Michaels, but Xavier Gray inserted himself into this conversation. Xavier Gray, who battled injury for a lot of 2024, has come back and he's in rare form. He absolutely has not lost a step, and we all decided that he deserves a spot in this match, and so I made it official a couple of weeks back that it will be a triple threat match for the Mixed 104.1 Championship. Alex Stevens, Xavier Gray, and Alex Michaels will take each other on in that match, with Alex Michaels putting his belt on the
And
line.
we spoke about this earlier. Alex Michaels is one of those grumpy old vets, as you say, and he is definitely not looking to lose to a young buck. But if he has to, you've got 2 of the best inside this match, 2 of the best. And one of them he helped train. Is that correct?
He had a hand in training both of them.
Correction, both of them.
Um, yeah, but both men spent time training under Alex Michaels, so they know him. They know a lot of what he can do, but you know how it is with trainers. They'll teach you all that you know, but they're never going to teach you all that they know. So if they're going into this match thinking that it's going to be an easy time taking on Alex Michaels, I think Alex Michaels and the grumpy old veterans might have a few tricks up their sleeve that they're going to pull out and show these 2 young men.
I think so too, sir. I think that Alex Michaels may be underestimating the talent that he has inside the ring with him, especially Xavier Gray. Now, we saw Xavier Gray fight through some injuries. He was injured earlier in 2024. Well, later in 2024, he got injured and he had to fight like hell, would be the right assessment, to come on back and get inside the squared circle again and fight. And now he's fighting like hell to make sure that his name is known among all the wrestlers and to make sure that his name is known in professional wrestling. Is that a fair assessment, sir?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I've had many conversations with Xavier Gray, and I can tell you where his head's at. He is ready to prove to not only the entire audience, not only to his fellow wrestlers, but to himself that he is worthy of being a champion in C1W. And there's not going to be any better way to do that than by winning this triple threat match at year 2.
Absolutely, sir. I would agree with you 100%. Now, do you have any other surprises going to be taking place? I know at year 1 you had the real one come out, but then you also had some surprises from the tag team division that happened there as well. Is that fair to say?
Yes, anything of that nature, I'm going to be keeping very
Oh,
close to the chest. I would rather it be a surprise, but anything can
th-
happen at C1W. We saw it last year at year 1. We saw Christopher Battle make an unexpected return in the very armory that he was deployed from. One of the greatest moments in C1W history, in my opinion, was that return. So if you think that we don't have some surprises, some OMG moments lined up for you at year 2, then just watch and you'll
And
see.
I can't wait for it, sir. Now, we know that Mr. Kennedy also cut a promo for you guys on the Championship One Wrestling page, and it's about halfway down the page currently that it's there. And we can look at it, but unfortunately, we can't hear it. But I believe that he's extremely excited about coming over here and facing some new talent. Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Anderson, whichever one you want to call him, he is the man. Remember, he is that SOB as well. And I believe that Rick Hayes and him have a lot in common. Is that fair to say, sir?
Yeah, I mean, you have Rick Hayes, who's an SOB, and pardon my French, but Mr. Anderson at one point called himself an asshole. And so, seeing those two even come face to face, I think would be extremely interesting. But that's not the match we have lined up right now. He's got AMJ, but who knows what could happen. I hope AMJ is ready for this challenge. I think this is going to be one of the biggest challenges yet for that young man. Um, and I hope Mr. Kennedy can come down here and keep up with what AMJ is going to bring to the table. I don't have any doubts that he can. Um, but I'm just very excited to see how that match plays out. I believe that Mr. Kennedy is the biggest name that we've brought into C1W yet. And I think that it's going to open a lot of eyes to our product. The fact that we have Mr. Kennedy coming in, and that's what I'm most excited for. The eyes that this is going to bring to C1W to show people that we're not just another promotion. We are here to bring you some of the best professional wrestling in the Southeast. Um, as Danielle's saying here, we do have a special start time for year 2, 30 minutes early. So the show will be starting at 7:30 because we have 7 to 8 matches lined up for our fans. They are going to be eating good at year 2, as will anybody who chooses to watch that show. Hopefully, you can make it in person. Of course, all the matches are recorded, so you'll be able to enjoy it after the fact. But you really want to be there in person. There is no environment quite like the C1W arena, especially when we have that place packed out and the fans are loud and rowdy and ready to see some of the best wrestling in the
Speaking of eating
Southeast.
good, are you guys still sponsored by Backroad Boys Barbecue?
Unfortunately, that sponsorship came to an end not too long ago. Obviously, no hard feelings or anything. It was just the right time to end that specific partnership. But we do have plenty of sponsors that we're excited about, as you can see on our
Excellent,
year 2
sir.
flyer.
So I'm very excited for the year 2, Mr. Jared. I'm really excited for what year 3 is actually going to bring for Championship One Wrestling. And the way that you guys have plotted this out and thought this thing through is very, very interesting to me. And like you said, there's a lot of surprises still out there in the wild that you haven't even released and will let us know about. And I'm really sad about that because I want to be able to able to release it first to the wild just for you guys.
Your journalists and your scoops.
Very true, sir. Well, Mr. Jared, I think we're just about out of time for today. Would you like to say anything to anybody watching before we go?
Only thing I'd like to say is mark your calendars, March 8th, year 2. We still have VIP tickets available. If you could put that QR code on the screen one more time as we close
Yes,
out
sir.
here,
It's
that
on
would
its
be
way.
amazing.
Right here it is.
Yeah, scan that QR code. If you're watching on your computer, scan that QR code. If you're watching on your phone, take a screenshot. You can buy VIP tickets there. Danielle is making note. It will not be live streamed by Mix 104.1 as year 1 was. Unfortunately, we weren't able to make that work out. But regardless of that, we plan on this show being bigger and better than year 1. And everything we do from this point forward will be bigger and better than the last. So what I'd like to say to everybody, make a point to be at year 2. You will not regret it. Come from across the country. Heck, come from across the world. We'd love to have you in the C1W arena. So get your VIP tickets now. Get your tickets now. and join us for the biggest show of the year.
Absolutely, Mr. Jared. And as you see right there on the bottom right-hand corner in that chat box, you can scan that QR code and it will take you directly to the year 2 page so you can order your tickets right there, right now. Go ahead and do that for Championship One Wrestling. Get your tickets now. Be a part of Saturday, March 8th, the year 2 anniversary with Mr. Kennedy, Mr. Anderson, who is going to be there, guys. It's going to be an awesome time for Championship One Wrestling. And Jared, I'm so excited for you guys. Now, as far as bookings and stuff go, are you taking any bookings, Mr. Jared?
I'm not taking bookings myself. At the moment, I'm fully dedicated to C1W. I am, however, taking commissions. So if there's any wrestlers out there who need highlight reels, entrance videos, anything of that nature, if you need promos edited, vignettes, anything like that, 8x10s, I'm your guy. You can message me on Boatfiled, or you can email me at gmail.com. You can email me about commissions. I have reasonable rates, and I treat everything I do as if I'm making something for television. And so that's the level of quality that you can expect from my work if you choose to commission me.
I will second you on that. He does excellent work. Just about everybody at Championship One Wrestling uses one of his vignettes, and he's actually expanded and gone farther than just Championship One Wrestling. Jaden Newman, just to name somebody that's out there in the industry that's used him. Jaden Newman's used him. Buck Manson has used him inside the past, and very many more. Casey Cage and so many more. So you guys definitely want to get out there and be with Mr. Jared. If you need any of your graphic needs, any of your vignettes, any of your videos, any editing done for you, definitely get with Mr. Jared today. He will definitely make it for you. Once again, what's that email, sir?
That's Eadsman, EADSMAN03 at gmail.com.
Thank you, Mr. Jared, for being here today on Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver. Would you like to come back in the future and talk with us just a little bit more?
Absolutely. I'm always happy to keep your audience up to date with the goings on at C1W, and to just talk about what we've got going on. I think it's very exciting. And I think that the more people we have aware of our product, the more exciting things are going to get.
Without a doubt, sir, that is exactly right. And, knowledge is half the battle, as the old G.I. Joe used to say. So you all have been given the knowledge. Now you got to fight the battle and get there. So get there or be the square. March 8th, the year 2 anniversary. Don't forget this Saturday as well, the 22nd. You guys want to come on out to C1W, 130 McDonald School Road in McDonald, Tennessee. It's a place where you guys want to be. Now, the bell time is going to be at 8 p.m., correct, on that show? Yes, sir.
For this week, yes, it will be 8 p.m. For year 2, we'll be starting at 7:30.
Tickets at the door for this show are going to be $8, and tickets at year 1 at the door are going to be $10 for general admission. Is that correct?
That is correct. $25 for VIP tickets, which need to be ordered ahead.
Are you doing a meet and greet this year?
Yes, there will be a VIP meet and greet with Mr. Kennedy.
So thank you, Mr. Jared, for being here, the general manager of Championship One Wrestling, and Miss Danielle for coming in, one of the owners of Championship One Wrestling, coming in here and being here with us today. I appreciate both of you guys for being here. Thank you so much for all your knowledge that you've given to my fan base, and I would look forward to having you in the future. Thank you guys very much. You have a great evening, Mr. Jared. And remember, you guys heard it right here first on Wrestle Talk with Arabbidb3aver. Bye-bye.